When I first got started practicing matrimonial law, I worked for a law firm where I have no doubt the partners were really well-intentioned, but the firm was really poorly run. It ultimately imploded. But they just took on every case that came to them. And everybody was good-hearted, and whether people could afford to pay us or not, we accepted their cases. And what that meant was that the attorneys worked an inordinate amount of time. We were working 12 plus hours a day, 6-7 days a week. And we could never get on top of our work no matter how hard we worked. And so the bulk of my time as a young attorney was spent getting adjournments, getting extensions, making excuses, apologizing to clients, apologizing to courts. And very quickly, I realized this was a terrible way to do things. This was really unfair to the clients. Although the firm was well-intentioned, we were not helping. I really think we had become part of the problem, something that unfortunately happens all too frequently. And so at this relatively young age, I realized I wasn't making any money. And I said, I'm confident I could do a better job on my own. And so I started my own practice almost 30 years ago now, with the goal of providing clients a much better experience, something that I felt that and still feel that they're entitled to, that you're paying us a lot of money. And even if the divorce is relatively inexpensive, you're still paying us, several $1,000s. And that's significant. And this is a really difficult and part of time in your life, and something that is critical that it's handled properly. I think that you've entrusted us with that. I take that trust very seriously. And I wanted to make sure that the clients that we accepted received the best possible representation that could be given to them. And that's why I started this practice. Often when clients initially come to us, the emotions are running very high. Sometimes both parties wanted the divorce. Sometimes one does, one doesn't. Sometimes one has been blindsided. The other has been thinking about it for a very long time. But those emotions run high, and that's understandable. And those emotions really cloud people's judgment. I've seen it happen often with clients, but even with lawyers, even with well-intentioned lawyers, it's very easy to get caught up. You feel for this person. They're coming to you, seeking help, and you want to help them. And so what I've seen, what I experienced when I was a young lawyer, is that this desire to help would turn into this, I want to fight and I'm going to right the wrongs. And pretty quickly as a young lawyer, I realized that's not possible. I'm not getting retribution for the 5, 10, 20, 30 years of your marriage where you may have been mistreated, not valued. Those are very real emotions, but a divorce is not where that gets resolved. And so what we do and what we take a lot of pride in doing is being really straight with our clients. We care deeply about our clients, but part of that caring is recognizing that you're paying us to give you advice, to be straight with you, to tell you the things that you may not want to hear. Look, the reality is your assets, or at least the marital portion, which might be all of your assets, are going to be divided, and most likely they're going to be divided in half. And if you have children and you've been living together, every day you saw your children. When you divorce, you're not going to see them every day. These are really difficult, serious, upsetting conversations to have. You're paying us to have those conversations. You're paying us to tell you the truth. And if you're not ready to hear that, that's unfortunate, and it's going to bring you down a very difficult and expensive path, and we're not interested in taking you down that path. We want to help you. We'll encourage you to be in therapy. I really think that everyone going through a divorce, or at least the vast majority, should get some therapy. I think it'll be really helpful in transitioning into the next phase of your life. It'll make our jobs easier. We're not lazy, but I don't want to waste your money. Ideally, as lawyers, I want my law firm to be able to focus on what we do best, which is helping dissolve your marriage and addressing the legal, financial issues that go with that, the custodial issues that go with that, and helping you move forward in the best way possible so that you can enjoy the next chapter in your life in a healthy way and in a financially strong way as is reasonable possible based on your finances as a couple. When working with our firm, a common question is, what's the best way to communicate? What does that look like? How do we do things? We're a big believer that if you reach out to us, obviously you deserve a response, and not a response in a week or in 3 days or in 2 days. When you call my office, often the attorney that's handling your matter will not be available. We have other clients, we may be in court, we have other things, we have various responsibilities for each client that will take us away from our phone. But we're going to get back to you. And on the chance that the attorney's not going to be back that day, if the attorney is stuck in court all day, may have a late deposition, our staff will be there to respond to you and can schedule a time for you to speak to the attorney. So you're never going to go days without hearing from us. We feel very strongly that's our obligation to you, and that also helps move your matter forward, in the best way possible. So we are very much encourage that type of communication. When we also are happy to take emails, we have many clients that like to email things to us. We encourage you to batch questions. It's something I touch on in other videos that I've done for you. But feel free to call us as often as you want, but it's really not the best way. And that's probably going to lead to more frustration on your part, because again, if I have an attorney that's in court all day and you call 5 times, it's not going to make a difference. They're getting your messages, and we're taking our obligation to call you back very seriously. So if you're the type of person that, 5 times during the day, something comes up in your divorce and you want to talk to us, we encourage you to jot it down. Remember that when attorneys are billing, they're billing in minimal increments, in set increments. So we're billing in 10th hour increments. And so rather than call us 6 times a day and speak to a lawyer 6 times a day, we tell you, jot it down, make a list of the questions, and then we can have one longer conversation, and that'll be the most effective use of your money. And that'll also allow us to most effectively represent you, in a way that keeps things moving forward really proactively, but also efficiently. There is no cookie cutter divorce. It's very, theoretically, I guess if you've been married for 2 years and you didn't accumulate any assets and you have no children, maybe that's cookie cutter, but we don't see a lot of those cases. And when we do, they're relatively simple for us. They can be hard emotionally for the client, but those are pretty straightforward. But every case does have differences, and that requires different strategies, and that requires, a great deal of experience to be able to handle those effectively, efficiently, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in. That's why I built a firm. When I started my practice, it was me, and I worked really hard, and I really think that I was very good at what I did, and I think that I gave great representation to my clients. But the reason that I wanted to grow is I realized that with each case being different, one person, you only have exposure to so much. And even now, 30 years later, I'm always learning. I'm always seeing something new. And by having multiple lawyers in my firm and a support staff that has a lot of client contact, we collectively know a lot more. And that really helps us strategize. That really helps us. We do regular strategy sessions in my firm where all the attorneys and our paralegals get together and we go over the cases and we bounce things around with each other. That allows us to do the best job possible for our clients. And again, as I stress often, we want to be really efficient for you. We want to make sure that we're moving your case as quickly as possible to a conclusion, while at the same time leaving no stone unturned that should have been unturned. And that's our promise to you. I'm very proud of my firm and the representation that we offer. And that's because all of us are really dedicated towards helping our clients efficiently, effectively. We're straight with people. I've met people who tell me that they met with other attorneys and they were painted this really wonderful picture and made promises about results. We tell our clients, we don't believe that there's any promises a lawyer can make to you other than, if true, and it's true with us, we're very good at what we do and we're going to work very hard for you. Beyond that, when they promise results, that's not reality, because you never know what will happen in court. So for us, what we believe sets us apart from other firms is not only do we care deeply about you, but we're very comfortable having the hard conversations with you, telling you the things that you need to hear that you might not want to hear. And then we're going to work together to be really proactive, to move your case as efficiently as possible forward so that you're not mired in otherwise unnecessary litigation for months and years to come.